Alberta's governing United Conservative Party recently chose a new leader to replace outgoing Premier Jason Kenney. Danielle Smith is the new leader and instantly Premier of Alberta. Beating out a field of six other candidates, Danielle Smith won with over 53% of party members' support on the final ballot. And as Premier, she has already made her mark. She recently apologized to and offered to rehire the workers who were fired due to the highly divisive COVID vaccine mandate. She wants to have a human rights code amendments prohibiting COVID vax status discrimination. And she pledged to not bring back mask mandates for kids in school. But Premier Smith isn't only focusing on COVID and freedom-related matters. She's also a big proponent of Alberta's oil and gas sector, which seems to have been sidelined by the federal government. And one of her key campaign commitments was a promise to craft an Alberta Sovereignty Act to stand up against federal government infringement. So what will a premiership under Danielle Smith look like? Will she be able to deliver on all her promises, especially before the next provincial election in May 2023? Well, joining me now to offer some insight is Josh Andrus, Executive Director of Project Confederation. Josh, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to dive right in. A lot of our viewers from Alberta want to know what's coming down the pipe. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the UCP leadership first off. So were you surprised that Danielle Smith won?
No, actually, I was surprised about how close it was. We thought that the membership of the United Conservative Party would be much more. There was a lot of frustration, but at the same time, I guess you could say that 51% that Kenny got on the leadership review was indicative of the fact that the party's pretty much split down the middle. So there's a lot of that divide. I mean, you got to keep in mind that this is a United Conservative Party, so it is bringing together two factions: the previous governing Progressive Conservative Party that governed from 1972 to 2015, and then the Wild Rose rump that was a split off the old PCs after Ralph Klein retired in 2006. So it was very close, and there is definitely a rift within the party, but there's still a lot of work to do to kind of heal those divides, and I think that that's what's going on right now behind the scenes.
So just to not get too much into the inside baseball of interior conservative politics, but what is the fault line? Where are people divided on what issues? Is it issues, personality? What exactly?
Well, I think some of it is personality. I think some of it is issues. The Wild Rose is very much much of a personal freedom kind of a segment of the party. They believe that individuals should have the ability to live their lives as freely as possible, whereas the Progressive Conservatives, there's almost a paternalism with them, where they believe that they have some form of divine intervention and they can decide how you live your lives. It's not to the extent of the NDP. There is still certain things, but there were certain divides. Like in 2006, there was an issue about property rights. 2011, 2011 saw Alison Redford come to power. She was backed by unions, and so you had a lot of these little issues within the party that led to the split. And now we're definitely trying. I think the party's trying to see those issues be healed.
Right. And of course, Danielle Smith herself was the former head of the Wild Rose Party. So interesting now that she's come under the United, which she, I guess, in some ways, for better or worse, attempted to participate in the uniting of the party back when Prentice was leader. So so she did win, obviously, the overwhelming majority. She won, 53%. It was at a clear majority on the final ballot. What do you think were some of the issues that she ran on that resonated with party supporters?
Well, there was all of that COVID stuff you touched on was very much, it was a driving force. We saw numbers of people buying party memberships that had never been members of any political party or political movement in their lives. COVID definitely did wake up a subsection of the population that never really felt that their voices were heard and felt like they had to do something. They had either lost their jobs or they had to vaccinate their kids, or various issues that COVID brought up that had never really existed before. But I think the one driving force that I think the mainstream media has captured probably more than anybody else is the Alberta Sovereignty Act and her approach to issues around federal provincial relations. In the last 7 or 8 years here, we've seen the federal government bring in policies that seem to be directly targeting Alberta's ability
Mhm.
to live our lives,
And I'm going to
starting with the
interject
carbon.
there.
Oh,
We've got
yeah.
to cut to commercial break, but I want to unpack that just
Okay.
after this commercial.